What's going on, guys? MariK here, back with another one of our Pokemon videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Pokemon trend that started with Sun and Moon in Generation 7 with regional forms. We have since had regional forms in every Pokemon game, but how well do they hold up to their original forms? Starting with Alolan Rattata, I don't mind this thing, but I don't know. I don't really care for it, so it's gonna go in C tier, I guess. I like the purple of regular Rattata better, and the little mustache is just too comical for me. Alolan Raticate, kind of the same thing. I just don't really care for it. Not that regular Raticate really did anything, but for regional forms, these just didn't really, do anything for me. Then we've got Alolan Raichu, which I loved this thing first, and I don't hate it. It's still going to go up in A tier because he is a really adorable. I'm not fond of the shiny coloration, though, and it's kind of cute. He surfs on his tail. The theme to go with Alola is really nice, and he's fun to use in battle, both with its ability and then its enhanced moveset, gaining Psychic typing. It's not as great as Kanto Raichu as far as design goes, but it's still pretty good. Then we got Alolan Sandshrew. Had a thing for a second. I like Alolan Sandshrew. I think it's another A tier. It's a little he seems a little stockier. He's got that extra ice coating on. But I like him. I like the really nice light shade of blue. Same thing goes with Alolan Sandslash. Now, I like original Sandslash. I don't like Alolan more, but I still think he's a really cool, really jagged, sharp design, and Ice Steel's an interesting typing. Horrible for fighting, horrible for fire, though. Then we've got Alolan Vulpix. This thing's going straight up in S tier. It is literally a white version of Vulpix. It's a little bit different. As far as their physical appearances, I still prefer regular Vulpix better than Alolan Vulpix. But the white is just, it's so perfect. This thing is so damn cute. Alolan Ninetales, I kind of feel like I would almost put it in A tier, because I don't like it as much as regular Ninetales. But if we're not comparing it, I think it's also an S tier. Not only is this thing super fun to use and to play with, and it gives Ice types a really unique thing with its Aurora availability, but also it's, again, Ninetales is just a really great design. The only complaint I really have with this thing's design is the fact that its 9 tails are more like one tail, unless you want to say they're 9, but they're really matted up. Then we got Alolan Diglett. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I don't mind him. He's really not much different besides his little like Homer Simpson hairstyle, which makes him kind of cute and comical, but nothing too special about him. Alolan Dugtrio, on the other hand, I really just don't care for this thing. I'm not going to put it in F tier. I don't absolutely hate it, but it's just not something the hair is just, not only does it just look weird, it looks bad in Scarlet and Violet. I saw it with the DLC. And the hair, I know it's probably supposed to be metallic, but it looks really weird when it looks like metal sheen-like hair. It's really awkward. Then we got Alolan Meowth. I don't mind this thing. I still prefer regular Meowth, but it works. It works for me. I think it's okay. Same thing with Alolan Persian. It looks like regular Persian, but it's got a fatter face. I won't put it in A tier, but I'd say he's B+. I actually like Alolan Persian. And if it's purple, it's a nice little fat cat from like Rescue Rangers. So that's really cool. Then we got Alolan Geodude, and Alolan Geodude, I don't hate it, I guess, so we'll put it in B tier. It does look a little weird with the super, like, thick-ass eyebrows, but other than that, it's not that bad. Alolan Golem, or Alolan Graveler, really isn't too much different than itself, aside from just, the same thing that Geodude's got going on. And then Alolan Golem, I would put Alolan Golem in A tier if it wasn't for the ridiculous, like, beard that it has going on. It's not a bad design, it just looks like Golem with, like, a little extra, but I think regular Golem is just much better. The fact that he's nice and round, and like this thing is definitely not doing much with rollout. Then we got a Alolan Grimer. I actually like Alolan Grimer. I don't know where I want to put it. I think Alolan Grimer I'm going to put in B tier. He's not super great, but I do like his design. The color it's really different than the purple we're used to with Kanto Grimer, or with non-Alolan Grimer, we'll say. But it's not too bad. Alolan Muck, on the other hand, I really like. I think this is an A tier. First of all, Poison Dark is a really interesting typing, and I feel like it kind of covers itself really well, because being Poison and Dark, it's immune to Psychic, so it's not getting that weakness. So Poison's only weakness there is Ground. And Dark, it's weak to Fairy, but the Poison resists that, making it neutral. It's weak to Fighting, the Poison resists it, making it neutral. And it's weak to Bug, which I think Poison resists that as well. So then, what, its only weakness is Ground? That's pretty fucking good, even though Ground is prevalent in Earthquakes. Or really, if you can run Earthquake, you're probably running Earthquake. Then we got Alolan Executor, and after having caught 3 of them in the DLC already for Scarlet and Violet, I'm not happy with him. I'm going to put him in B tier. I don't hate him. It's just a little weird. Executor was already weird, and this thing just makes it even weirder. It's really awkward to battle with because you can never get the whole thing on screen. But it's not a terrible design. I understand that it was the original design for Executor way, way back in like the early drafts for Gen 1, but yeah, it's alright. We got Alolan Marowak, and I don't know where I'd put Alolan Marowak compared to its regular counterpart, but I think it's an A tier. It's a really cool design, and ghost typing is pretty dope. I don't really think I have much experience using one, but I think I like it. It's an alright design. Then we got Galar Meowth. This thing I don't really like compared to the Alolan version. I'm going to put it in C tier. I don't think it's worse than Rattata and Raticate. Same thing with its evolution, Berserker. It's just kind of, I don't know. Like I said, it's not. I don't hate the design, but it's kind of just, I'm indifferent to it, but in a negative way. Then we got Galarian Ponyta, and this thing I think I hate it because it's all fairy and like shit, but it's got a cotton candy coloration. It screams My Little Pony, but it is super adorable. So I'm gonna put it up in A tier. I actually am kind of surprised myself that I'm putting it in A tier, but I think it's a really cool design for Pokemon that I wouldn't think it would be. Now, the shiny coloration I'm not a big fan of, but that's a whole other thing. Then we got Galarian Rapidash, and Galarian Rapidash, I don't like it as much as regular Rapidash. I don't like Galarian Ponyta as much as regular Rapidash either. But I also don't think it's as great as Galarian Ponyta, so I'm going to put it over here in B tier. It looks good for what it's supposed to be, but the design itself is not for me. Galarian Ponyta isn't really either, but it looks more like Ponyta than Galarian Rapidash looks like Rapidash, and it's much cuter. Then we got Galarian Slowpoke. I don't really have much feelings towards this thing. I'm going to put it in B tier. Slowpoke I don't really care for a whole lot anyways. I like Slowbro, but Slowpoke is just kind of eh to me. And then Galarian Slowbro, it's different than regular Slowbro, but it's different enough that I don't really like it as much. So I'm going to stick him in B tier as well. Now, honestly, I understand he's better than Slowpoke, because obviously it's the evolution, but it just, I don't know, something about it. Then we got Galarian Slowking, and I don't like this thing compared to the other two. I'm going to put him in C tier. He just seems really, his design, there's something off about it that just has me feeling some type of way that I'm just not big on. Then we got Galarian Farfetch'd, and I don't dislike this thing. If I ignore my feelings about Ashes in Pokemon Journeys, I think I'll put it in B tier. It's not a terrible design. I think it's kind of funny that he is, becomes a fighting type, and his leak is like gigantic and he actually beats people with it, or beats Pokemon with it. He's cool. He's all right, but it's not really a Pokemon I'd be like, whoa, I want one of those. Surfetch'd is kind of the same way. I think Surfetch'd is interesting. Maybe a little higher in the tier list than Galarian Farfetch'd, but I don't think I can actually put him an actual tier above Galarian Farfetch'd. Then we got Galarian Weezing. I actually like Weezing. I love Coughing. I love Weezing. I just think they're neat Pokemon. They're not anything that it's like... They're not like Gengar or Raichu or anything for me, but they're cool designs and they're purple, and I actually like using them in game. Galarian Weezing, very different. I love its goofy design, though. He's an A tier for me. The fact that his smoke stats look like top hats, and then the gas or the fumes or whatever literally form like these little fancy mustaches. It's so ridiculous, but it's funny. And then we got Galarian Mr. Mime. Or is this Mr. Rhyme? Which one is this? I don't even remember. This is Galarian Mr. Mime, right? I'm not big on this thing. I don't like Mr. Mime anyways. Actually, no. I think I'll put him down in D tier. I really don't like Mr. Mime. And changing it to be equally as weird and creepy does not make it better. And then, yeah, Mr. Rhyme, he's equally as weird and creepy to me. I'm just not a fan. Sure, he got, like, an ice cane. I guess that's supposed to make him look cooler, but it just really doesn't. You can't undo that creep factor. And then we'll go ahead and just get this out of the way, because I know this is going to trigger people. All three of the Galarian birds are going in S tier. Now, what makes my choice here different than my choice in the legendary tier list is because that was comparing them as legendaries to different legendaries. This being strictly a regional form list, I think these are some of, if not the very best regional forms we've ever gotten. They so much resemble the original Kanto legendary birds, but they're so different. Their colors are different. Even their forms are different in a way. Zapdos is the most different because he just runs. He doesn't actually fly. And then their shiny forms. Their shiny forms are the color schemes of the Kanto forms, and that's just so perfect. Regardless of how you feel about me putting too many Pokemon in S tier, if anything, these three have to be S tier as far as regional Pokemon go. Then we've got Galarian Corsola, and I think it's okay to put it in B tier. I think the lore behind it is really cool. It just looks like a dead Corsola, which is kind of creepy and kind of sad, but when you look at the lore, it's really fucking a cool idea that they did that. Kind of like what they did with Decidueye in Gen 7, and then Corsola is the same thing. It goes in B tier. It's not cool enough for me to put it in A tier, but I do like that it really lives up to the idea that they were going for with what's happening with the coral reef and all that. Then we got Galarian Zigzagoon. I'm not really a big Zigzagoon fan either, but I like this. The black and white works really well with how it goes from like the different tufts of fur. And I think Galarian Linoon is kind of the same way. I just don't like how they come off as these really, like... Honestly, they look like their trainer did their makeup like they were taking them to a fucking Kiss concert, which just does not sit well with me. And we're going to go ahead right there with Obstagoon, and he's going to go down in D tier. He might actually go down to F tier. I actually think I hate this thing so fucking much. It just looks ridiculous. And, I mean, if you're a Kiss fan, that's whatever, but, like... It doesn't fit for Pokemon. Sure, it fits for, you know, the music and that genre, but it doesn't fit for a fucking Pokemon, and it's just so out of place. More so than even the Mr. Mimes, I think. Then we got Galarian Darumaka, whatever you want to call it. I like this thing. I think he's just cute, he's goofy. He's not A tier, but yeah, I think he's a neat little design. Galarian Darmanitan. I don't know. This thing I'm not super big on. I actually like Darmanitan. This one's a little weird to me. So is its Zen form. I think we'll put them in C tier, just so we're not too harsh on them. They're not terrible, but they're just kind of like, eh. I got Galarian Yamask. Really not a whole lot different than regular Yamask. I'm just going to put him in B tier. Runig... whatever this thing was called. I like it. It's kind of cool. I think I'll put it up in A tier. Maybe it's like a B+. But for now, I'm going to put it in A tier. It's a cool idea, but I don't like him as much as I like Cofagrigus. No freaking way. Then we got Galarian Stunfisk. I really don't like this thing. I'm going to put it in D tier. It's such a simple design, but I just don't like it. Like, I already don't like Stunfisk. And then, it really makes me wonder, why did they make why give certain Pokemon regional forms if you're not improving on them? This was just worse, and Stunfisk was already just a dumb fucking pancake fish. It was just a, yuck, it's just garbo. Then we got Hisuian Growlithe, and for the most part, I think this thing is an A. I know it's supposed to be going off of the design of that, whatever that dog breed is, where it's always got its shit in its eyes and it can never see. I don't really like those dogs. I mean, I'm not a dog person anyways, but I don't really prefer that breed. But as for a Pokemon, it's a pretty good design, especially for a regional form. Hisuian Arcanine, I almost want to put it in S tier, but I don't want you guys yelling at me, so we're going to put it in A tier. I think it's definitely a better design than the Growlithe, by far. I don't like it as much as regular Arcanine. Like, there's no comparison between the two. But, as far as regional forms go, it's really nice. And I think it's actually, like, dominating in the current VGC meta right now, too. Original Growlithe, or original Arcanine was doing the same, but I guess it's not as good as its rock-type counterpart. I guess it gets rock offensively, which is great, but also it adds more weaknesses. So I'm not really sure. Not really sure which way the meta was supposed to go with that. Then we got Galarian Voltorb. It's an Galarian? Nope. Hisuian Voltorb. And it's an alright idea. Both it and Electrode can go in B tier. They're not bad, but they're just not as good as the original forms. Having them be grass types was interesting, but I don't like Voltorb doesn't look as angry. Electrode is pissed off, and I don't like it, because Electrode was always the cool one that just always had this, like, doofy grin on his face, like he just thought he was the coolest shit on the planet. And this one just looks like he's pissed off at the entire planet. Then we got Hisuian Typhlosion. And I gotta be honest, when I started Legends Arceus, well, first of all, when I found out Cyndaquil was one of the starters, I knew immediately I was picking Cyndaquil. There was no way I wasn't. And Hisuian, when I found out he was getting a new evolution, I was like, that's actually pretty cool. Fire Ghost, that's cool. Evolution, not so much. There's something about the design that it kind of tries to capture the essence of Typhlosion, but something about it just doesn't work. Like, when I look at it, it just, there's something not clicking to me. It's going to go in B tier, and I hate it because I love Typhlosion, but it's just eh. Galarian Quillfish, it's just Quillfish with just a different color scheme, really. So it's going to go in B tier. Overquill is kind of the same. Just a little more pokey. It's going to go in B tier as well. I know majority of Pokemon are going in B tier because, I mean, there's not really a whole lot that I don't like, and there's not really a whole lot so far that I would say are above the rest. Like Galarian Sneasel. It's Sneasel, but it's a little Hisuian. I keep Hisuian Sneasel. I like regular Sneasel better. I think B tier is okay, but I don't actually like its evolution. I don't think I dislike it as much as these four, so I'm going to put it in C tier, but Sneasler, first of all, the name is just like, what? You didn't put much effort into that one. But also the design is just like, Weavile is vastly superior to this thing in every way. Then we got Hisuian Samurott. I don't dislike it. It maybe looks a little cooler than regular Samurott, maybe. But I didn't really... I think B tier is fine. It's not a Pokemon I overly like its design anyways, and then changing it up a bit didn't really do a whole lot for me. Hisuian Lilligant, I don't really like this thing either. I'm gonna put it in D tier. It actually looks really weird compared to regular Lilligant, and I'm just not a fan. Hisuian Zorua to start off. I almost want to... I think I could put it in A tier. I don't want to put too many in A tier, but at the same time, I feel like you guys are really gonna... Yeah, it can go in A tier. I think it's fine. Hisuian Zoroark is really cool, and this thing's got to go in A tier too. Making him a ghost type is pretty dope. I still like the regular form better. I just think the black looks better on them than the white, but they still look pretty cool. Then we got Hisuian Braviary, which this thing definitely has to be A. I would almost consider putting it in S tier, just because I really think it's a cool design. But Braviary is already a cool design, but I don't think either one of them are S cool, you know? And then we got, is this one Sliggoo? Or Sliggoo the first? I don't... I'm blanking for a second. It's gonna go in C tier. I don't think it or its evolution were better. They're just this. They're more or less kind of very similar to their, you know, previous forms, except they just got the big shell, which didn't do anything. I think the regular ones just look better. These were just kind of like, I don't know what they were really trying for here. Same thing with Hisuian Avalanche Monster. It just like, it missed the mark for me. It's just kind of eh. Hisuian Decidueye. This thing's okay. I'm gonna put him in C tier or B tier. He's not terrible. He's not as good as regular Decidueye, which I think I gave that an A tier. It's okay. It's not. They say it's not bad, but it's definitely not an improvement. I'm going to go ahead and put... I'm going to put Paldean Tauros, both the combat form, which is the regular fighting one, and the aqua form, which is the water one. I'm going to put them in B tier. I think I'm actually going to put the blaze form, which is the fire one, in A tier, because he actually looks cooler. His horns like get more spiky. And I don't know, it looks like a better design. They're really similar, all three of them, but I think that one actually looks a bit better, so I want to put that one in a higher tier. And then we got Paldean Wooper. It's going in S tier. You guys can hate me all you want for that. I fucking love Wooper, and Wooper getting its own regional form, when I heard that shit, I was ecstatic. I love this thing. I shiny hunted it the minute I had a freaking outbreak pop up for it. I even loved it so much I shiny hunted 2 so I could have a Wooper and still have one to evolve. And speaking of that evolution, Clodsire, it's going in S tier. Design-wise, I don't know how I feel about it compared to Quagsire, because I have specific reasons why I like Quagsire. For example, I love that little purple blotch on its back. I don't know why. I just love that about him. Clodsire, on the other hand, just looks like a giant eclair, which, they're good, but it's just, not only is I just like the design, it's also, this thing carried so hard during my playthrough of Scarlet version. This thing was literally a god, and that's like why I nicknamed him Godsire. I just love it. I don't... To me, it's more Paldean Quagsire than it is its own Pokemon, because it is so very similar to Quagsire in just so many aspects. But I really just like it, and I know that's probably controversial for either of those to be an S tier, and I'm sorry, but you know, this is my list. So that would be all of the regional variants across the Pokemon games that we have thus far. So, hopefully, we didn't offend too many people with this. I really tried not to put many in S tier, but we ended up putting more than 5, and shame on us, I guess. Most of them just ended up in B tier because a lot of them are just kind of okay, like okay to bad. But there are some good ones, like, you know, the ones we put up in A tier and S tier. So overall, they've got a decent record as far as putting out decent designs for, sorry, I almost choked on my own tongue. Designs for regional Pokemon, and hopefully we'll continue to get more regional Pokemon, and, you know, hopefully they'll be good ones. So, let me know if your regional favorites made the cut in the top of the list, and if they didn't, let me know why you think they should have in those comments down below, and perhaps we'll have a civil conversation about it.